Let's make a harvest feast. One chilly winter morning, Grandma came into the bedroom to wake Yuna and Haruto up. "It's time to start preparing the harvest feast for the festival," she said. "The festival is still far away from now, isn't it?" asked a sleepy Yuna. The smell of something delicious coming from the kitchen drew Yuna and Haruto from their beds. "Have you forgotten already?" asked Grandma. "We made a promise at last year's festival." Kiriko, lion dance, flutes and drums. Yuna and Haruto love the autumn festival. There's one part of the festival they love best, though: the delicious harvest feast. Oh, Yuna remembered. On the day of the autumn festival last year, Yuna, who loves cooking, and Haruto, who loves eating, made a promise with their grandma to learn how to make a harvest feast for the next festival. "Do we really need to start already?" asked Yuna. "Yes, we prepare for it over a whole year," Grandma replied. They followed Grandma to the kitchen where they found steaming pots full of soybeans. "Look, the beans are ready," said Grandma. It was the day for making miso. The soybeans Grandma had been growing on the edges of the rice paddies were steaming hot after being boiled. Grandma checked whether they were ready to be mashed by pinching one using her thumb and ring finger. Then, she popped 3 beans each into Yuna and Haruto's mouths. "Oh, yummy!" Grandma asked them to wash their hands. "Oh, it's very cold," Yuna said. "Today is Daikon, the coldest day of the year. If we make miso during the coldest part of the year, it lasts longer," said Grandma. Once they mashed the beans, they mixed them with koji malt and salt, then put them into a barrel. "Now, we let it rest in the storehouse until autumn. The koji malt will make it nice and delicious," said Grandma. The next day, Grandma was doing something outside. Yuna found some black things lined up neatly on the bamboo mat that Grandma made. She took a closer look. "Ah, seaweed!" They were pieces of nori seaweed, carefully picked by Grandma at the seashore. Some people shape nori into circles before drying them, while others make it into squares, depending on the area they live in. On a warm, sunny day in spring, Grandma took Yuna and Haruto to the forest. "That's zenmai. That's warabi. And this is fuki," she told them. "Wow, there are so many! Can we really eat them all?" asked Yuna. "Yes. We pickle them in salt so that we can eat them at festivals and funerals," Grandma explained. "There are so many things to eat in the forest," said Haruto. "Don't pick the parent zenmai. You can't eat it, and without it, zenmai can't grow next year," Grandma warned. Yuna and Haruto did their best helping Grandma pick the plants. When the cherry blossoms were in bloom, Haruto helped Grandma plant potatoes. Instead of planting seeds, they planted cut potatoes. Putting ash on the surface of the cut keeps the potato from rotting, Grandma explained. In late spring, all the rice paddies in the village were filled with water. When the taoebana trees began to bloom, it was time to start planting rice with Grandpa. It was a fine morning after a rain. Grandpa put the seedlings he grew on the rice transplanter and started planting at a steady pace. Yuna and Haruto loved getting a ride on the transplanter. The spring rice paddies were lively with the sounds of various critters. In the tree branches, forest tree frogs had laid their eggs which looked like candy floss. It was a hot summer day. Grandma and Yuna put on rain boots and went to find sea noodles at the seashore. Yuna remembered that Grandpa loved vinegared sea noodles. "Grandpa's going to be so happy," Yuna said excitedly. "You're right. We will coat the sea noodles with ash and dry them for the festival," Grandma replied. When the pink silk tree was in bloom, it was time to plant azuki beans. "We must plant 3 beans in each hole. The first bean may be eaten by a bird, and the second one may be eaten by insects, but the third one will grow and give us beans," explained Grandma. Grandma grilled the flying fish Grandpa caught to make soup stock. When the summer holiday came, Yuna and Haruto visited the graves of their ancestors with their family. Afterwards, they enjoyed a delicious meal together. Salmon noodles in flying fish soup are so refreshing and tasty on a hot summer day," said Yuna. When the cool autumn winds started to blow, the ears of the rice plants turned yellow and grew heavy. One autumn day, the whole family got together to harvest the rice. Grandma used a stick to gently drop morning dew on the ears of rice. "Oh, be careful! There may be a mabushi in the rice paddy," Grandma warned. On another day in autumn, Grandma took Yuna and Haruto to go mushroom hunting. "These days, we can hardly find any matsutake because people don't take care of the forest," Grandma said. "When people take care of the forests, more mushrooms can be harvested and many kinds of animals and plants can live."
"Oh, I see. This mushroom that looks like a mouse's paw is called nezuminote,"
said Haruto. "This mushroom that looks like a pink kimono cloth is called nunobiki. That one, covered with fallen leaves, is gosakaburi. Remember the area you found these mushrooms this year? That's where you can find them next year," explained Grandma. Finally, it was the day of the festival. Grandpa and Haruto went fishing for rockfish early in the morning. They caught black rockfish and red rockfish. "Around these parts, the gold-eye rockfish can also be caught with fixed shore nets," said Grandpa.
"There are so many kinds of rockfish in the sea,"
said Haruto. Once they got vegetables from Grandma's garden, everyone started making the harvest feast. "We boil the zenmai and warabi ferns we harvested in spring in a copper pot because they will get back their fresh spring green color," Grandma explained. Wow, they look as if they had just been harvested, said Yuna. They didn't even need to use a fridge or microwave. One by one, they prepared the dishes. Using mountain spring water, rice from the rice paddies, and azuki beans grown on the edges of the rice paddies, they made steaming hot red bean rice.
Oh, it smells so good,
said Haruto. The kids helped get the lacquerware bowls and plates ready. Lacquerware looks glossy and cool, but it feels light and warm to the touch. Once they put the food on the red lacquerware, the harvest feast was ready. Yuna and Haruto's uncle, auntie, and many other guests were there. Everyone seemed to be enjoying the feast. Yuna and Haruto thought about the past year and how all the food on the table came from the mountains and the sea. The two felt grateful to the mountains and the sea for providing such a delicious meal. Finally, it was time for Yuna and Haruto to enjoy the feast.
Itadakimasu.
Let's hope they will have another delicious harvest feast next year.